You were standing in an open field just west of a white house with a boarded up door. There's a small mailbox here. These were the words that started the gaming revolution. In the year 1981, Ronald Reagan was shot during an assassination attempt. Sandra Day O'Connor became the first woman justice of the Supreme Court, and the video game Zork hit the markets as one of the first interactive video games of its time. Though Zork may seem insignificant in those events that happen, is really not. Without Zork, we would not have the video games that we have today, some of the newer stuff that we have that's interactive. Several of the games that are interactive that are really popular is The Walking Dead, Heavy Rain, where you make choices throughout the game. Zork, though, was a text adventure game. You were given scenarios, such as the one I mentioned earlier, and therefore you had to decide which way you were going to go throughout the whole game. Each direction that you took with your character had consequences or rewards, depending on what you chose. Though it had no graphics, it was one of the first adventure games that was interactive of its type. The game was written by MIT students Tim Anderson, Bruce Daniels, Dave Lebling, and Mark Blank. The idea came from another text-based game called Adventure. The game, though, was very limited. Adventure was not very interactive and could only take 2-word commands at a time. The students designed Zork to understand sentences and to be more interactive. An example of a command for Zork was, stab the troll with a sword. They would, stab the troll with a sword. In 1981, most people did not have computers at home. Originally, the game was written for the PDP-10 room-sized computer mainframe. This was popular amongst universities. Zork was written with MDL, which was a very specific, specialized programming language. Zork did not take off at first because the only way to play Zork was to log on to the MIT PDP-10 mainframe through the ARPANET, and then you had to run it remotely. The game still gained popularity, though, even though it would have through its limited availability. As home computers began to take off, Anderson, Lebling, and Blank decided to start their own business. They started a company called Infocom. They wanted to create productivity software for home and business. They decided to release a commercial version of Zork to fund their venture. Zork was a large file, though. Too large, in fact, for many of the home computers. They decided to break it into 3 parts. There was Zork 1, Zork 2, and Zork 3. Zork 1, Great Underground Empire. Zork 2, The Wizard of Frobos. And Zork 3, The Dungeon Master. It became a big hit, which sold over 1 million copies. This success changed Infocom's direction. They decided to concentrate on gaming software instead of trying to do business software. They worked on text interactive video games mostly. This included Zork sequels and spin-offs. The Enchanter Trilogy, Beyond Zork, The Coconut of Quindor, and Zork Zero, The Revenge of Megaboz. As Infocom progressed, they began to add things to the games which seemed to set them apart from other gaming companies. These included things known as fillies. These fillies were real-life items that were delivered with your game. Some games came with maps and crime scene photos. Zork was re-released during this time to include the fillies. It was a hit again because many people wanted to own the fillies that came with Zork. Zork's game included travel brochures to fictional lands, a guide to an underground amusement park, a history of the great underground empire, shares of the Froboz's company Sow Truck, and even a Zonakid coin. The Zonakid coin was the official currency of the game. Unfortunately, all good things must come to an end. Infocom decided to go with serious business software at one point in time, and they created a program called Cornerstone, and Cornerstone did not do well. Infocom was on the edge of going under, and they decided to sell out to activism. But it did not save Infocom. They still went out of business, and the doors officially closed in 1989. Activision had a new path and vision for Zork, though. They decided to continue the series, but not as a text-based game. Activision decided to include extensive graphics and video scenes with real actors. Hardcore Zork fans were not happy. They did not take to the game very well, and so the game did not sell like the Zork had in the past. Many people equate a good video game to good graphics. Honestly, this game was about the story. It was about envisioning what you were doing in the game in your mind and really putting yourself in the shoes of the characters. One of the most famous lines, "It is pitch black. You are likely to be eaten by a grue," is still seen all over gaming sites all over the internet, so it definitely made its mark. Without Zork, people would not have the interactive video games that they have today. It really led the way for those games to start off and do well. So you can still play Zork online if you're interested in playing it. If you just Google play Zork online, there's many, many websites that have Zork and all of Zork sequels and trilogies. Thank you.